Emma stared at her phone screen, her heart heavy with guilt and frustration as she read her mother's latest text about the upcoming hip replacement surgery. At 28, Emma felt like she'd been navigating these emotional landmines her entire adult life, caught between her mother Linda's expectations and her own physical limitations. Linda, now in her early 60s, had become a veteran of medical procedures over the years. Emma could still remember the sleepless nights during her mother's shoulder surgery when she was just 19, helping Linda dress and undress while fighting her own discomfort with the intimate nature of the care required. The back surgery 2 years later had been even more challenging, followed by the knee replacement that left Linda dependent on Emma for weeks of recovery. Each surgery had followed the same pattern. Linda would dismiss suggestions for professional help, insisting that family should take care of family. Emma, despite her own chronic back problems stemming from an injury in college, had always stepped up. But now, facing another major surgery, Emma felt trapped between her mother's expectations and her own very real limitations. At just 4 feet 11 inches and weighing only 117 pounds, Emma knew she wasn't physically equipped to provide the kind of support her mother would need after a hip replacement. Her own back problems, which had plagued her since a car accident 5 years ago, made lifting and supporting another person not just difficult but potentially dangerous for both of them. Every time she'd helped her mother in the past, Emma had spent days afterward in pain, popping ibuprofen and using heating pads to manage the strain. But this time was different for another crucial reason. Emma's husband Marcus was stationed in South Korea with the military, and she had planned visits to see him in April and August, visits that represented precious months of their limited time together during his deployment. The timing couldn't be worse. "I understand you want family to help you, Mom," Emma had said during their last conversation, her voice gentle but firm. "But maybe we should consider a rehab facility this time? The professionals there know exactly how to help you recover safely." Linda's response had been immediate and cutting. "If the doctor doesn't mention it, I'm not bringing it up. I don't want strangers taking care of me when my own family can help." Emma felt the familiar knot in her stomach that came with these conversations. "Mom, the people who work at rehab facilities are trained professionals. They know how to help in ways that Dad and I just don't. They can help you recover faster and more safely." But Linda remained unmoved, her jaw set in that stubborn way Emma knew meant the conversation was over. The guilt trip that followed was swift and brutal. "If it was you having surgery, I would drop everything to help you. That's what family is for." Emma's response surprised even herself with its honesty. "Mom, if I had a medical procedure, I wouldn't expect anyone to help me to the point where it might hurt them. I'd rather get professional medical help because trained professionals can help me recover better than you or Dad could." The silence that followed was deafening. Things had gotten even more awkward when Linda learned that Emma hadn't been discussing the surgery plans in detail with Marcus during their brief phone calls and video chats. With the time difference in Marcus's demanding military schedule, their conversations were precious and limited. Emma preferred to focus on their relationship and his experiences abroad rather than dwelling on family medical drama. Last night, the situation had reached a new level of absurdity. Emma and her father David had been sharing stories about Marcus over dinner, talking about his thoughtful messages and care packages. Out of nowhere, Linda interjected with venom in her voice. "If he's such a nice person, he would reach out to me and ask how I'm doing with my possible hip replacement." Emma stared at her mother in disbelief. Marcus was stationed thousands of miles away, serving his country while trying to maintain a marriage across continents. What exactly did Linda expect him to do about her hip replacement from South Korea? "Mom, he's in the military overseas. He can't exactly fly home to help with your recovery," Emma said, but Linda's expression remained cold and resentful. Now Emma sat in her small apartment, torn between love and practicality, between family obligation and self-preservation. She knew her absence during the recovery period would leave her father David as the primary caregiver, and while he was willing, he was also in his 60s with his own health concerns. But Emma also knew that sacrificing her visits to see her deployed husband, visits that represented months of planning and emotional anticipation, would leave her resentful and heartbroken. The worst part was the emotional manipulation disguised as family loyalty. Every conversation with Linda felt like a test of Emma's love and devotion, with guilt as the weapon of choice. Emma understood that her mother was scared about the surgery and recovery, but using family obligation to dismiss professional medical care seemed both stubborn and potentially dangerous. Emma found herself questioning everything she'd been taught about family duty. Was it really love to expect your child to potentially injure themselves helping you recover from surgery? Was it fair to demand that a military spouse sacrifice precious time with their deployed partner for caregiving that professionals could provide more effectively? The phone rang, Linda's name flashing on the screen. Emma took a deep breath, knowing another guilt-laden conversation about family obligation awaited her. What do you think Emma should do? Is she being selfish by prioritizing her visits to see her deployed husband, or is her mother being unreasonable by refusing professional care? Should family obligation override personal limitations and important relationships? How would you handle a situation where helping family might physically harm you? Share your thoughts and feelings below. This dilemma touches so many families dealing with aging parents and caregiving expectations.